News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilworth, darkhookmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian. And a very strange one, I don't want to read yours, on this Aura Awareness Day.
Aura Awareness Day. Max, you know what? It's a strangely appropriate holiday. I feel like my aura is being tested this weekend. So we'll dive into that later. That sounds like a good one.
Or just the aura of homes, the importance of that too.
Exactly. So aura awareness, eh? Okay. And you know, we don't have to get all new agey with this thing, Allan. I think obviously we all have an aura about us, so that'll be a good one. All right, Max, we'll plug that into the show today. If you want to get in touch with us, you can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to go to Facebook and go to @Tool Talk Radio and join the Tool Talk Radio community. And you can see where we've posted something that, actually, it's something that I've never seen before. And I think I don't know, it's Allan's contribution this week. And you know what? Let's just jump right in. Let's get to our must-have item of the week.
Alrighty. Well,
because, Allan, what the heck is this thing, man?
This is what is known as a mini key or minute key multi-tool.
Okay, it looks, if you're trying to picture this thing, folks, the only thing I could see that it could be useful for is opening a bottle, but it looks like a key. I can see the screwdriver end.
All right, there's your
looks like
screwdriver.
It got some hexes, but
there's your hex heads. There's your ripper. There's your bottle cap opener. There's your measurer, and there's your file.
And you claim you use this every day.
All right, well, you think about just painting alone. Right there is a big, thick, heavy-duty pry bar. How many things do you unstrap in a day?
Yeah.
You got to pull. You got to fight the straps, flip them over. You just grab that with this thing and rip, and no more strap. And the other thing is, these are the three most popular hex head sizes that you run into in just everyday existence, especially around plumbing.
Yeah, I guess there's something to that, man. And if you break it, who cares? What does that thing cost?
It's $2 whole bucks.
Okay.
Yeah, it's $2
so just
whole
have
bucks.
a supply of those babies. So,
and I got to tell you, having something that convenient and it's on my key ring.
Sure,
it is on my key ring, so it is in my pocket. And the number of times during the average workday where somebody goes, I need to cut this, I need to move this, or I need to. And the other thing is, just walking around having a little flathead screwdriver, you always have the ability to tighten something on site.
You know what's interesting about this is there's always there's those tools that we keep in its case and we make sure it's cleaned and dusted. And then there's those $3 or $5 tools that you just toss anywhere, and those you wind up using all the time. Man. So,
constantly.
Yeah.
This is just one of those little kind of a Christmas stuffer kind of thing, if I guess. Somebody gives you the kind of, And, of course, this is one of those gifts you get, and somebody goes, oh, gee, thanks. 6 months later, a year later, ask them how it's still working, and it's doing great.
There you go. Well, okay, must-have item would be pretty simple, but go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check it out because it's actually pretty cool. Maybe everybody should have one. Looks like it could be even a self-defense mechanism.
I'm sure it could do
hands.
some bad things to something, yes.
Okay, I didn't do a very good job of setting the table, so I probably ought to do that. I don't know if we sound any different, folks, but we are maybe I do. I don't know. I'm on about 4 hours of sleep, Allan.
Mm-hmm.
We are actually broadcasting live from the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. It's here. You've been hearing about it for weeks, and Ditch is on hand. I'm hoping Ditch is going to jump in on the show later, our trusty program director, and it's a great day. It's funny because when I think of the ideal weather and the ideal scenario for a convention, this is it. It's cold, so it's a good day to be indoors. It's sunny. There's no wind. There's no drama. There's no weather reasons to prevent you from getting down here.
That's true.
It's a lot of fun, man. You should check it out, folks. It's really affordable. We want you to bring your family, and there's fun for everybody. It's a 2-day celebration of superheroes, science fiction, pop culture. The shopping experience is insane. I've been just walking through the vendor room there. There's so many cool gifts you can get to get jump start on your holidays. And we would love for you to come out and meet our celebrity guest, Brandon Potter, who plays Quintus on The Chosen. He's also a very popular anime voice actor and video game voice actor, and he's going to be here. You can meet him. You can get his autograph. You can take his picture, your picture with him. You can go talk to him in our Q&A session at 1 o'clock. So get down here. We're at the University of Memphis Holiday Inn at 3700 Central Avenue, and so we hope, and you can get your tickets at 901 TIX, 901 TIX. So, Allan, with that in mind, I don't think I mentioned what our great moments in building history is going to be.
Well, we're going to do something a little near and dear to my heart, as a matter of fact. We're going to go back to 1952 on August 1st, when Kimmons Wilson opened the very first Holiday Inn.
And I'm told that later in history you actually have a tie-in to this
I do.
particular property.
I do. It
which will be
involves
interesting.
myself and a sledgehammer, but it's okay.
So we'll get a backstory on that. There's going to be a lot, and like we said, we'd love for you to chime in at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, 901-683-0989. I think, do we have time, Max, to queue it up? Because I really am dying to find out what Allan did this weekend.
Just release the hounds.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, the humanity.
And just by the little chit-chat I heard between you and Ditch, folks, we apologize if this ruins your breakfast, but what did you do this week, sir? So.
Well, welcome to the Mid-South for those of you who are listening to us outside of the Mid-South area. I'm not going to say winter is here, but I'm going to say fall pulled up the RV and is parked in the driveway. It is chilly today.
Yeah.
Somebody had to turn on the heat last night, and all this week, as a matter of fact, and I have had about 16 phone calls. I just turned on my heat. Why does it smell like burning hair?
Okay. I feel like, okay.
I'm dead serious, and
I thought people know this, but this is probably worth mentioning, especially to new homeowners, maybe.
There are a lot of new people out there, a lot of new renters, and the other thing is there's a lot of new HVAC styles in people's homes. The mini split is there, and now kind of a growing trend is the PTAC,
sure,
which is kind of like a window unit on steroids.
I gotcha.
They're big, they're wonderful. However, what you smell when you turn on your heat for the very first time is, well, basically you burning.
Yeah. It kind of gives you pause to think that's what you smell like. So.
Well, basically what happens, and I always tell everybody, I said, if you want to see something kind of scary, find you a nice sunbeam and put your arm up there and start rubbing back and forth on it. And you're going to see all kinds of stuff come flying up off your skin.
Yeah.
Unless you are really, really moisturized. Basically, most of what the dust and dirt in your home is you. It's your skin cells. It's your hair. Now, it's less hair with me and you, but it is definitely, it's you, it's your skin, it's your hair. Of course, if you have a pet, their pet hair and their pet dander also piles in.
Right.
And even with the best of air filters, a little bit of debris gets through and catches and dust settles on the burners.
Yeah. I mean, I thought people knew that, but it does make sense, but it's a little jarring when you first fire it up. Is there any way to avoid it? I don't really know how you avoid it.
Well, the biggest thing to do is make sure that you keep those air filters cleaned and checked. I know, Larry, I'm doing your job for you there, Mr. Brown. Please check those and use a decent filter. Don't buy the cheapest possible thing.
Right.
Get a decent filter that's got a good filtration rating on it, and that will help stop the bulk of that. However, if you do have alternatives in your home, again, window units, PTACs, and mini splits and a mini split is basically a real air conditioning system, but most of the AC unit is actually in the room.
Right.
So if you've got a large room or a garage that's been converted, chances are you might see a mini split in there. Of all of everything, their filtration is all contained at the unit, and unless you keep it clean and keep it updated, you're going to get that burning smell.
I guess I'm wondering too. Is there anything? I don't know. Let's make this more dramatic than it has to be. Is there anything dangerous about breathing this stuff in? I mean, it can't be good. I don't know that it's.
Well,
like here's what I'm picturing. Do we preempt? What if we did this? What if we just preemptively, like, okay, we're into November. We know at some point it's gonna be time to fire up the heater. What if you just turn it on and open all the windows and just let this let the circulation happen or something.
Oh, yeah, you definitely, well, if you know it's coming, prep for it.
Yeah.
And, it's always, and I always tell everybody, anytime you have a change of systems, you're going from AC to heat, it's a great time, again, to go check those filters, look at the vents, and you'd be surprised how much little bit of dirt and debris kind of builds up here and there. And it's never a bad idea also, if you've got a shop vac or a vacuum cleaner with the hose that attaches, to go ahead and clean out the air intake, and especially if you've got floor vents.
Right.
Stuff falls down in there all the time.
Yeah, why did I remember those houses that they were built up on a crawl space, and they had the heater in the floor.
Yes.
Man, what a bad
that's almost like an archaeological dig when you get down there.
You burn your feet when you walk on it.
Yeah.
It collects every bit of dirt and dust.
It does.
Yeah, if you live in a home like that, my mother actually had a house like that temporarily, but I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, those floor vents would really teach you real fast to wear shoes in the house.
Okay, so
you didn't step on that more than once.
So I guess the lesson here is everybody in your home needs to exfoliate, regularly, and keep those air ducts clean and everything. Not the worst week you've had, Al. I can't believe that's all you did this week.
Well, I also had a small invasion of ladybugs. We can talk about that later.
All right, we'll circle back on that. And don't think we forgot about our Cork flooring discussion. That's all coming up next on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Ron, what was wrong with that one?
It was too perfect. It looked machine-made.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. Who are we kidding, Allan? We're coming to you from, the mobile Brown Refrigeration Studios.
The portable Brown Refrigeration Studios.
Here at the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com, and our pal Max back at the studio, who no doubt has his feet up on the console. He's probably running wild in that studio now that he's
sitting
got
over there
himself.
snacking on his bananas. And
exactly. If you want to call or text us, you can get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. Max, you said we did have somebody's chiming in?
Correct. Cliff just wanted to kind of build off of your discussion about the heat stuff. He was saying it's the dirt and the oil that is on the heat exchanger, and then heat strips is the dirt on it.
Heat in the oil. Now, the oil from the machine itself. Is that what he's talking about?
No, dirt in oil.
No,
okay.
As in your
our oils.
It's cooking oil, generally, from
Okay.
you frying stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think of that, too. I guess I'm just picturing, not to, like I said, we don't want to ruin anybody's breakfast, but I am curious, what is something, okay, it's sitting there for months. Here in the Mid-South, you can go, I don't think we fired up our heater for 5 to 6 months at least. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just picturing all this stuff, this coagulating and layers upon layers building and everything. Well, I'm just wondering about bacteria and all these things, and then we ignite it and heat it up.
Yep.
And aerosol it around our house.
Yes, we do. The magic word there is aerosol.
Yeah.
Because
so maybe it's something to think about.
I'll even make it worse, because even your toilet creates aerosol.
I saw a funny video about that once. They put some kind of infrared thing or so, they did something, and they said when you flush it, it looked like a volcano.
Yes.
All the
little water droplets and air. So every time you think about it, every time you cook,
right,
and you walk in the house and go, "Oh, that smells so good."
Yeah.
Well, that's aerosol.
Right.
That is oil and literally microscopic food particles floating around in the air that you think smells so good.
And I feel like here in the Mid-South, it's just the whole situation is turbocharged because we have moisture in the air. We have all these conductive forces and all these things that just and then just not to mention the pollen and everything else were just
Well, I mean, my windows have now been open for the last, I would say, at least 45 days.
right.
Because we have had, and for those of you who are listening to us up north, I'm sorry you already got snow, but the last 45 days here in the Mid-South have been absolutely
Beautiful.
stunning.
Yeah, great weather.
But that means all the leaf mold, all the spores, all of the pollen and everything generated in the fall have been, well, percolating through my house.
Yeah. Well, Cliff, thanks for chiming in on that. Thanks for the adding to the conversation with the things floating around in the house.
I want to throw in one more quick thing because
Okay.
a lot of people may not know what he's talking about when we say the heat exchanger.
Oh, good point.
And that is because if you have gas heat, you have basically a box that is on fire.
Oh, yeah. That's
that-
literally what you're doing, right?
Let's just call it what it is. You have burners, just like you have in your, pretty much just like you have in your grill.
Mm-hmm.
And when your heat comes on, you hear that whoosh. That's the gas going into the units being regulated, and you have a fire in
wow.
your house. And that heats the heat exchanger, which then heats the air that blows through your house.
Yeah.
So you're not actually sucking the air through the flames to heat them. You've got a heat exchanger. The point is, if you have an old system, it may be time to have that heat exchanger inspected because they get old too.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
we don't want them to corrode and create a hole. And this is where people talk about CO2 leaking into their systems.
Well,
is
and we
through
don't
that
want
heat
that.
exchanger. Correct.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's just cue it up. This is it's out
It
of
is.
order, but let's talk about our good buddy with Larry Brown with Brown Refrigeration, because this is exactly, we're preaching we're preaching to the choir with him.
We are.
But there we go, Max. He's even throwing in his background music. But the thing with your HVAC unit is, I mean, it really is the most important unit in your home. It's the most important piece of technology. It regulates it affects every square inch of your home. It's regulating and conditioning the air in your home, and it's the more he talks about it, the more I just don't get it. I think Larry Brown's sort of a mad scientist when he talks about there's chemistry involved. There's so much knowledge that your HVAC technician has to have, and they constantly are getting updated. And that's the great thing about Brown Refrigeration. He's always on the cutting edge of technology, and he's always looking ahead to what's coming, which helps you as a homeowner. When you have Brown Refrigeration come out for a visit, we suggest at least once or twice a year. They're going to inspect all of those. They're going to inspect all of those components, like you were talking about, Allan, a heat exchanger. Things that we look at and we have no clue what it does. They can say, that is a concern. You might want to plan that in the next few years you're going to have to replace that, or maybe it's working great, and that's peace of mind as well. But either way, it's kind of like going to the doctor. You get a checkup to make sure everything's functioning the way it should. And if you do need a replacement, they always work with Train systems, because Train is just at the top of the line, and the Remy Halo system, which is hugely important, very affordable actually, but it makes cleaning particulates. That's the way I look at it. It cleans all the air coming out of your system is clean, and it cleans every surface it hits. And after our discussion this morning, I feel like I want that.
Now you really understand why you want a Remy Halo.
And get your ductworks clean. The great people at Brown Refrigeration, financing, and they answer their phones. So call Brown Refrigeration. You can get in touch with them directly at 901-362-1881, or go to their website, brownref.com. And as a matter of fact, I happen to know that Larry Brown is sending a few guests over here to the Memphis
excellent.
Comic and Fantasy Convention. I've already got some tickets put aside for them. So
Excellent.
okay. Let's see. I'm just looking at my list. Hey, Max, can you tell us about this Aura Awareness holiday? I'm kind
Well-
of curious about it. If it means the same thing that I'm thinking.
Well, it's not necessarily the word. I would like to discuss the holiday by talking about the origins of the word aura itself, which are kind of interesting. It
Okay.
comes from ancient Latin and Greek, and the literal word aura means wind, breeze, or breath. or a gentle breeze in medieval English. And so that's kind of interesting. It kind of makes me think of the definition of energy in Japanese. It's like ki, which is like, like something that kind of, it's like a force or energy that pervades the universe and everything, and is something that kind of like is almost like a halo around a person.
Huh. Okay. Wind, breeze, or breath.
But
That's
Aura
interesting.
Awareness Day was created by someone by the name of Cynthia Sue Larson back in 2002.
Now, was she a hippie, or is this kind of a...
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I believe in all this stuff, but it's within reason. Like, I'm not about to... I don't know. We talk about how your home has a certain aura, and it's probably because, the way we live in it, the way we decorate it, the way we... the skin cells we leave behind.
Well, I'm gonna flip the script on Max just a second, and I'm gonna put in the word Wi-Fi. And
Wait
I'm
a
going to
minute.
say
What?
electrical, and I'm going to say radio. Ta-da! All right, when you talk about the aura of something, you could be talking about the touchy-feely, you've got a green aura, or we can actually take it a step further, and we get into the science of electromagnetism, which is becoming a bigger and bigger topic as we have more and more wireless devices. Thank you, Viking King, Mr. Bluetooth,
Yeah.
of, the great communicator. Now, admittedly, he communicated usually with a rock or an axe, but today we are literally swimming in electronic soup.
Yeah. I have to believe that's affecting us.
Well, it is a factor of life on planet Earth that no matter where you go, basically you can pick up some form of broadcast signal.
Right. Yeah.
So, while it'd be very easy to make fun of something like Aura Day, I'm going to turn it into a very scientific day because of, back we just had Halloween, and it's no big secret that I do, weird things like ghost investigations and stuff. And predominantly what I find is bad electrical.
Right. Yeah.
When you go through your home, if you ever get a laser thermometer and walk through your home, you will have more fun, entertain the cat, and entertain the children for hours, checking the temperature of every surface in your home.
Yeah, because it's varied.
But when you check the temperature of wall sockets and they're warm, you got issues.
There you go. Max, what'd you say?
I was going to also say, speaking of scientific, we also today celebrate Fibonacci Day.
Oh, well, why didn't you lead with that? Talk about burying the lead. All right, well, we'll follow up on that. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're also going to talk about Cork flooring.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
You're making a plan while I'm being a man, just winging it.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to go to Facebook and go to @ToolTalkRadio and check out, I really have to say, one of the weirdest must-have items of the week we've ever had. Allan brought it in. It looks great. I mean, it fits right on your key ring. It looks, for all intents and purposes, it looks like a key. But we were counting. I think there's, 7 or 8 functions on that thing. The multi-key tool, the minute key multi-tool, whatever. I don't know what it's called, but minute key.
It's a mini key multi-tool.
$2. Get like a handful. Put one on everybody's key ring because it's one of those things where at the moment you need something like that, you don't have to run to the toolbox or the drawer. Just whip out your key ring and you're good to go. And you said you use that thing
constantly
every day. I don't know if you can hear. People are starting to get a little noisier here. We're at the. We're actually. Allan and I are here. We're broadcasting live from the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. Ditch is running around somewhere. I don't know where he went. He's over talking. I think he's shopping right now. But it's going to open at 10 o'clock. But so get down. Don't wait till 6 or 7. Get down here early. There's a lot to do. It's really fun. We're over at 3700 Central Avenue, which is the Holiday Inn at the University of Memphis. It's going to be a full day of activity. It's very affordable, and it's fun for the whole family. There's something for everybody to do here. It's a great day to be inside, so it's perfect. This is perfect convention weather. So, hey, it's interesting, too, because Max sort of... he always likes to make us aware of the holidays that we're dealing with, the lesser-known holidays. He said today is Aura Awareness Day and Fibonacci Day, and he just threw that in there. But I know I've heard the word Fibonacci, but what is that, Max?
The Fibonacci sequence. The reason it's today is because today follows the Fibonacci sequence. It's created by adding the two previous numbers together, and it's a construction that we see all throughout nature from the spirals of galaxies to the distribution of seeds. So today it would be 1, 1. And so you add those two previous numbers together, you get 2. 2 plus 1 equals 3. 3 plus 2 equals 5. And so the Fibonacci sequence for today is 1, 1, 2, 3, at like 11:23 today.
Wow.
But
you said a lot there, Max, but you're saying this connects to galaxies and the construction. Okay.
Yeah, the spot. If you see like the arrangement of like petals and flowers, it's all follows the Fibonacci sequence. And then Fibonacci himself was a famous mathematician from the Middle Ages, who was the name Fibonacci means son of Bonacci, and he was famous with introducing the Arabic or Hindu numeral system to Europe because back then they used Roman numerals, which were clumsy.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just trying to think of how that ties into our homes, but I feel like everything has to function harmoniously and mathematically.
I would have to say that without that, there wouldn't be a designer.
Okay. All right.
All right. If you think about most of your grand designs are copied from nature, who follows this pattern naturally. It's clean, it's simple, and when you are adding together construction, it's very strong.
Okay, there we go.
So in how to lay something out, you may not realize you're using this mathematical principle. Chances are you probably are, because
instinctively.
If you think about laying out a swimming pool, the swimming pool has a lot of forces going straight down on it. Gravity pulls the water down and creates a certain amount of weight, but you also have a certain amount of weight pressing out onto the walls.
Right.
So welcome to nature versus man understanding nature through math.
Okay.
Because without principles like this, we would not be sitting in this building right now on the 3rd floor.
You know, Max, when you said today is Fibonacci Sequence Day, I didn't think we'd get this much mileage out of it. I thought that was a throwaway thing, and here we go.
Oh, no. There's 3 shows attached to Mr. Fibonacci.
Okay. It's a great, hey, if nothing else, the Mr. Fibonacci has one of the coolest names, and it's funny. It sounds like a name that would be hard to pronounce, and yet, boom, it rolls off the tongue. Is he Italian?
He was
Fibonacci.
Italian, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
That makes sense.
What do you think?
Very, very. What's his first name, Max?
Leonardo.
Oh, there you go. That guy sounds like he was meant to leave his mark on history. Leonardo Fibonacci. Okay. Well, all right. Let's get back down to nuts and bolts here. We teased it last week because we ran out of time, which it's a good problem because we had so many texts we had to address that we didn't get to it. But I think I mentioned, folks, if you're just if you didn't hear last week's show, I'm getting ready to put down some cork flooring, which I've never done before. I've put down plenty of flooring. It's
right.
the it's the whole pre-finished, click it together, cut it to size type thing. Now, Allan, you've worked with cork flooring.
I have.
I got contacted by a listener friend of mine. He's a art teacher, Adam Hunt. Big shout out to Adam Hunt.
Okay.
Anyway, he's like, well, when are you going to talk about cork flooring? He's getting ready to work with some. This particular cut is 1 foot by 2 foot, so they're pretty big sections. It's not one of these where it's 4 inches by 16 or something. So
right,
kind of big rectangular sections, and there's no grain in cork, of course. However, they do run like a pattern. I could say the pattern runs long ways, like the way they put the cork in there, I guess.
Correct.
It's pretty cool looking. I'd say there's like 6 colors of varying, whatever. But my question is, the minute I hear cork flooring, I'm like, okay, how sturdy could this stuff be? How waterproof? How's it going to wear and tear? This is going into a laundry room. What happens when moisture is, we encounter all that. So those are the kind of questions on the table, Alan. So
Okay, well, let's back up and let's try the word laminate.
talk to me.
Okay, so let's think about a laminate product. And what do we mean by laminate? Laminate means layers.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I have worked our entire lives with the most popular layered product on the planet, plywood.
Right. Yeah.
And plywood is, if you've ever sat around and just played with one or found one left in the sun too long, you notice that it is layers laminated together with different adhesives.
Right. And it's crisscross. One grain goes one way, the next layer
Which
goes
makes
another way.
plywood virtually unbreakable.
It's
without
really strong. Yeah.
tremendous force. Right.
Yeah.
So welcome to all of your new material hybrid floors. We've got hemp, cotton, seashell.
Wait,
We've
cotton?
got cotton,
smokes.
cotton fiber. You think about cotton fiber, and you think about even carbon fiber. We make heat tiles and all of these things, and they're all based on the idea of lamination. So your cork floor, cork is a lovely renewable resource. It comes from the cork oak, and the cork is the underlayer right underneath the bark.
Oh, I was trying to think of what part of the tree we get that from, but yeah. It's not the center, although sometimes the center can be like the center of branches and stuff. Is that cork, or is that just
That's not cork.
That's not.
That's
okay.
not cork. It comes specifically from a particular type of tree, and it's sustainably harvested, all of that. So, it has a tremendous number of advantages. The other advantage cork has is that, well, it's cork. It has give.
So
There's
actually,
a
they
little
worked
bit
that
to
into the
this.
design,
Yes.
having some flexibility and everything. So.
Absolutely. The good news about it is that it's as easy to work with as a completely artificial floor,
Okay.
because you're not worried about wood grains and splintering, and you're not worried about any of that because it is a formed product.
Here's my question for you too, because okay, I've worked with some of these laminate pre-finished hardwood floors. Let's just call them
Right.
that. And depending on the thickness, like for example, this thickness is 3/8 of an inch. I've put it on where it's even a little thinner than that. But the way it worked is I only needed to use a saw if I was cutting like a curve or something like that. But basically, if I had to cross cut it, I could take a razor knife, put a straight edge on it, scrape it a couple of times, and score it and snap it, and then I'd kind of clean up the edge. But it didn't require sawing or anything like that. Can I do that with this cork flooring? Because the thickness seems to me it's about 1/8 of an inch of cork.
Yeah, again, it's going to depend on brand and style, but yes, you can. Coping saws work really well on it, and of course, all of your power tools do. The biggest thing is a lot of times you actually may need to use the metal blade, not the wood blade.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you want that fine tooth action. You don't want the big tearing and ripping like I'm trying to get through a 2x4.
Right. Yep.
All right, now, that's all the good stuff about cork. It's warm, it's forgiving, it looks good, it's a formed product, it's sustainable, all these wonderful things. However, I will point out the one detriment that I have found with cork, and that is heavy furniture.
Well, see, that's what I've been wondering about, because there will be a washing machine and a dryer on this. So, I mean, if it ever has to be pulled out, I was thinking we're going to need to put something on the feet of these things, right?
I would definitely put some kind of additional pad underneath there to go on the cork.
Okay.
Not that the cork surface is any more or less scratchable than any comparable flooring.
Right.
Every floor can be scratched. I don't care what you got. If you got granite floors, you can still scratch them if you try.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing is a lot of these new floors, whether it's bamboo, cork, or any of the other composite materials out there, being slightly soft, they have a tendency to compress over time.
Yeah.
And I don't mean over 6 weeks, but I mean if you've got a great big honking pie safe that hasn't been moved in 10 years, chances are when you try to move this thing, it's going to have indented into the flooring.
Okay, what about the walking path? Because the way this laundry room is set up, you come in off the carport, and then you go. It's a straight shot to the other door. So obviously that's where all the traffic's going to go. What is that going to do after 5 or 10 years? Is that
the durability is not bad, but I would have an eye if you're really worried about a truly high traffic area on softer flooring. I would have an eye on the install for how easy would it be to cut out that piece and replace it.
right? Because we're debating whether we float the floor or glue it down, and I'm like, we might float this baby. So, all right, we'll have a few parting thoughts about Cork flooring because we definitely want to get it right. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I've been cooped up in the studio too long. I've forgotten what it's like to be outside working next to men who know what they're doing.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
We try. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max behind the glass. And, well, we should say Ditch, too, program director, host of Memphis Morning News, all around. He's there. If you go to the radio station, Ditch does it all. So, and he's here. He's just over there lurking off mic. If you want to call or text us, it's a good day to do it. You can get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And, of course, the reason Ditch is here and the way we might sound a little different, you might hear some activity in the background. It's because we're broadcasting live from the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention today. It's going on all weekend at the University of Memphis Holiday Inn. It's a great family event. There's a lot happening here. It's going to be opening at 10 o'clock. And we go till tonight, but don't wait. Get here early. Great shopping experience. It's a big celebration of superheroes, science fiction, fantasy, pop culture, everything. And coming down in just a little bit to begin signing autographs and meeting fans is our celebrity guest of honor, Brandon Potter, who is he's of course a very well-known anime voice actor and video game voice actor, but people like me know him best from that really world-renowned streaming show, The Chosen, and he plays Quintus on The Chosen, which is a hilarious. He's right up your alley, Allan. A likable villain. Like every minute he chews up the scenery. Every minute he's on camera is great, and he's going to be here. You can meet him in person. But hey, Allan, before the break, circling back to home improvement, we were talking about Cork flooring. The other thing is, I like to think of myself as a battle-hardened, street-level home improvement contractor. That's kind of the way I look at, there's the way it should be, and then there's real life. And we have to think about, okay, well, we're talking about putting down Cork flooring. You're kind of giving me some of the pros and cons. It looks cool. Okay, right away, it's a cool-looking floor. If that's your thing. There's a really neat pattern, depending on what colors you choose. But let's suppose down the road somebody drops something on it. Let's just suppose there's a big, somebody gashes the floor, maybe right in the center. Well, one thing I've noticed about this, if you have any artistic skills, it seems to me that you could carefully, maybe you get a little X-Acto blade or something, cut out the damaged areas, maybe put in some Bondo or something and do a little faux finish on there, and I bet you it would blend in pretty nicely. Because, you can't always do that to certain wood patterns, but this Cork looks to me like it might be a little more forgiving. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to slightly argue with you and say you can do that with pretty much any wood pattern.
You can. But
it's a matter of your artistic ability.
Right.
So can you do it? Yes. Are you able to do it? Might be a little different. Now, because, again, this is not just truly cork. It is an artificial product. There's a lot of chemistry involved here. You could conceivably, even using another little piece of floor, create your own patch and epoxy it in.
Right. Yeah.
So, you got your epoxy, you mix in the proper cork material that's been ground up, and then now it looks exactly like the other surface, and Voila.
There you
So
go.
it is. Again, the one thing I've found with a lot of these products, like the Cork, all of these new floors we've gotten in the last 20 years, every one of them has some kind of really cool advantage. A lot of them, you can pop a tile out and replace it if you need to. You can buy different grades of it.
Right.
And there are additional coatings, and it again, this greatly depends on the floor, but there are additional coatings that can also be added to or put on the floors to make them more durable.
Okay.
But again, read the instructions, ask the questions, follow up with the manufacturer's website, and go, what can I do with this before you buy it?
So I had one more question, because this isn't a laundry room, and I'm thinking, okay, at some point the hose could break and there could be water,
absolutely.
and water could find its way underneath. The bottom layer of this flooring it's actually a thin layer of cork.
Yes.
It grabs really nicely to the floor, because the floor's got a certain texture, so it doesn't slide much. But what does that do what if water is just sitting on there and it's and it's not going to evaporate as well? What is it doing to that cork? It's gonna eat it away, right? Or
Well, it's not so much what is it doing to that cork is probably what it is doing to your air. Since we were
Okay.
talking about the aura of your home earlier, of any time you trap water and it can't get away, it's going to grow something.
okay,
This is why, like if you have some kind of leak and your carpet gets soaked, they want to hit it with suction as fast as they can to get as much water out of the pad. Not so much the carpet, but the pad.
I got you.
Trying to get this as dry as possible. So that is your fear with every piece of flooring on the planet. I can't just pick on cork.
No. Okay.
It's a surface. It's a durable floor. They're good looking. I've seen the different varieties of them.
Yeah.
They look fabulous. So, there we go. It's a good flooring. Just be aware it's going to have all the same problems as every other flooring.
Yeah.
And it's got some distinct advantages, and it looks good.
Okay. Well, the nice thing about my customer is they're kind of going into this with a sense of, you know what, we're going to try it. We're not going to,
Absolutely.
and if it works, great, and if not, so I'd say that's kind of going to be the approach. Just give it some thought. There's advantages and disadvantages, but it's like don't over. I feel like flooring is becoming more disposable than it used to. It used to be you put down a hardwood floor and it's there for the lifespan of the house.
Exactly.
It's not that way anymore. You might get tired of a pattern and you switch it up every.
Well,
5
we
or
didn't
10
have
years,
floating floors 50
Right.
years ago. You nailed that baby. I mean, how many times have you and I pulled a million nails at a flooring?
Right, exactly. All right, hey, can we shift gear? I want to circle back. I don't know. I think we teased this a little bit, but what is? You also had a sort of critter wars this week in your
yeah.
experience, and I feel like the critters are being either activated or put to sleep when the weather starts turning. But what happened with you?
Well, let's go to house number 1,
Okay.
which is kind of out in the country, and it's a very light-colored house.
Okay.
And I got kind of a panicky phone call, and I drove out there, and I had to agree with her. It looked like something out of a Junior Alfred Hitchcock movie. Because she probably had 4,000 or 5,000 ladybugs on her house.
Did he do that motif? I know he did the birds. and
Well, he
everything,
did the
but, yeah.
birds.
Okay.
But this was she was very concerned and I was like, well, the ladybugs right now are swarming, and they're looking for a place for a few thousand close friends to snuggle up and hibernate. So they're looking for a tree, they're looking for that, and just because of the color of your house, it's kind of attracting them.
Okay.
But-
Wait. What color would attract ladybugs? I didn't
Well,
know
it's
that.
the lighter color. So I mean, it's kind of like they've got dark trim, like as if it would be like a hole in the tree, and they have a light colored wood on the sides.
Ah.
So it's creating kind of a foresty looking, maybe this is a cave sort of thing.
Okay.
And the ladybugs are landing on the house and investigating it. They're not finding any good places to go, so they're flying off at the end of the day. But she was a little concerned because, when 5,000 ladybugs show up on your front door, it's a little disconcerting.
I thought they bring good luck. I thought that's like, she should be, cultivating this.
Well, they do. You just don't want them living in your laundry room.
Okay.
There you go. And real quick,
and don't exterminate them, right? We like ladybugs.
No,
Just
don't
shoo them
exterminate
away.
them. They'll go away, or you can get the broom and get them out of the way.
Okay.
And to the deer that wiped out $35 worth of my broccoli and collard greens that I had just planted, I hope you enjoyed them.
What do you got deer over in that neighborhood? Your house is weird, man. You got it's like its own environment there. I didn't know you were wrestling with deer too. Okay, whatever. We may learn more about that, but hour 1 of Tool Talk Radio is in the can. But stay tuned. There's a lot more coming up on hour 2.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Call or text 901-683-0989. Or you can also go to our... Okay, turn my volume up. I'm not on. Yeah, no. Okay, there we go. Am I on now, Max?
Yes, you're on, dude.
Okay, well, he wasn't hearing me, so... All right. You know what? It's always this way. We're at a live remote, I should say, folks. We are actually broadcasting live from the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. It's here. People are rolling in. It's going to be a really fun day. We have... it's... a 2-day celebration of superhero, science fiction, and fantasy, and we're the ones who put this thing on. So it's cool to be able to broadcast from here. But oh, that's better. Is that loud? Okay, it's okay. Yeah, we're getting live radio, baby. But hey, Allan, before the before the break, we were talking about Cork flooring and everything. Just let's just give a up and down vote. Would you put Cork flooring in a laundry room? I mean, it's probably too late at this point, but we're doing it. But
well, I've even put carpet in a kitchen, so I can't really complain one way or the other. My only concern would be I would definitely make sure I had some kind of good pad underneath the feet of the washer and the dryer, because they're going to be there for a while.
Okay.
So, I mean, I know you don't want to put a furniture moving pad underneath one of those little slidey discs, because you don't want your equipment sliding around the room. What we want is them to sit nice and stationary, but I don't want that fine little point, because it's just a tiny little screw head down there.
Right.
Compared to the rest of the floor. That is eventually going to make a dent in the cork floor. So I would put something a little better under that.
Okay.
As far as the rest of it, I find, cork floor works good, looks good. I don't have any more complaints or less complaints about it than I do any other of the new floorings. So I think it'll be a good-looking laundry room.
Okay, cool. Well, I already warned him. I said I can't stand behind this. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to follow your instructions, but I make no promises. So, but anyway. Hey, Allan, before the break, we were talking about, I just want to make sure, I'm just trying to get clarification before we move on to our great moments in building history. What did you, I'm very curious why ladybugs are attracted to a light color. It seems like light colors would be colder.
Well,
wouldn't like a dark color hold more heat or something?
Well, it's the contrast. What they're seeing, because this house is a light gray, and it has black trim.
Okay.
And it is a very stunning looking house, but what it's doing is creating a contrast like, hey, look, I'm a big area, but there's a dark spot here, so that's got to be like a crack in the wall of the cave.
Oh, gotcha.
So the little guys can get up in there. When I worked at a multi-story hospital many, many years ago, that entire 16-story building, because it was near a very forested area, would attract ladybugs by the millions.
Wow. Okay.
They would swarm all over that building for a couple of weeks until the weather finally convinced them to find a better habitat.
I gotcha.
So,
okay.
So this time of year, they will swarm, and if you're one of the lucky ones and they find your house,
right,
put up with it for a couple of days. They'll move on, but it is a little weird,
Yeah.
to show up and find 1,000 ladybugs on your front step.
Okay, cool. Hey, Max, I didn't cue you for this, but I think it's time to get to our great moments in building history.
And now, great moments in building history.
And you
Hey,
stepped
was
on
ready
it.
for that. So, Alan, you're bringing us this one. I guess it seems apropos considering, we're actually there's a little museum downstairs talking about the person you're about to tell us about. So.
It is. As a matter of fact, my teenage years were paid for by this lovely organization. Back on August 1st of 1952, a young man had decided he had had enough of unsatisfactory lodging experiences. Those are his words.
Okay.
Because up until then, pretty much traveling and lodging was a kind of a mom and pop operation. Mm-hmm. You went and stayed at, Ditch over here had him a little roadside place, and he had some rooms, and you kind of rented a room, and what you got was what you got, or you went to something bigger and fancier, but it really was hit and miss.
Wait, this was before Anthony Perkins and the
Yeah. This is before Psycho. That movie came out a little later.
Okay, that only helped his business model, I would assume.
Well, it kind of made that Airbnb thing a little scary. So Mr. Wilson decided, what we really need is something that's kind of uniform. People should know what they're getting.
Right.
That was his big thing. And he had a buddy named Wallace Johnson. And together, they put their heads together and said, let's build this. So right here in Memphis, right off of Summer Avenue, right there by Mendenhall, they built the very first, in 1952, Holiday Inn.
I'm trying to picture where that was, because it's not there anymore.
No, it is not there anymore.
No evidence of it. So.
There is now a warehouse in that location.
Right.
But the biggest thing was this was kind of for the mom and pop traveler, and they, if you checked into the Holiday room and you stayed in room 1 or you stayed in room 20,
right,
you should have the same experience.
Right.
And that was his earth-shattering idea, that you should get pretty much the same room if you stayed here at this Holiday Inn. And it was based on the idea of you've been on the road all day and you're tired, so instead of going to a big hotel or somebody's bedroom, you could go to a hotel designed for you to motor up to it. And it became the Motor Hotel, which was shortened to the Motel.
Did you say you met Kemmons Wilson?
I've met him on more than one occasion.
Okay.
My father worked for him for many, many years.
We're going to get some behind the scenes from Allan about that, but you're making me think he really seems to be a person that understands human psychology, because I know you've experienced this, I've experienced this, where maybe you're going on a trip, especially if you go somewhere new. I'm thinking of the very first time I moved to San Diego. I was driving cross country, and I wound up staying in this little place in, New Mexico at the halfway point. And it is kind of jarring when you're like, oh, okay, well, here's a hotel. I'm going to go in here. And this place was kind of sketchy. It was uncomfortable. I'm like, when's the last time they cleaned it? And you're, like you said, at the end of a long trip, which is how most people travel, you don't need that. And if you can look forward to a nice, predictable experience, that you can count on, and that's countrywide, you're going to stay at the Holiday Inn every time, right? I mean,
and again, for anybody that ever actually worked with Mr. Wilson, he was a little bit of a maverick, a little bit of I'm going to shoot from the hip, and if he said I'm going to do it, you'd better buckle up or start the car.
Well, that's a good
because he
quality.
was getting ready to make this happen.
I always appreciate that. If they say something, they actually do it.
And the other frightening thing is, if he saw something new, might not even be in this country, but if he liked it, he was going to do it. So, right after they got the first one open, it kind of worked. It was nice. It was clean. The other thing that he did that directly ties to so much we do today is that he made it easy to maintain.
Oh, so wait, that was built into his design. Like, okay.
It was built into design. How fast can I get your room 100% Holiday Inn ready from Allan? Allan was just there. Now Joe's coming in. I checked out at 10. You're checking in at 2. I need to give you a brand new, clean, fresh room.
Now, when you say that, are you talking about, okay, so that means that the maid station here, or the housekeeping station is going to be situated here, and we're not going to create a bunch of corners for things to collect, and we're going to make it easy to vacuum, and we're going to
exactly.
He dealt with feng shui, and
he was building business ergonomics before we even had a word for it, because he was also a huge proponent, and he had seen this traveling, of not making repetitive trips.
Oh, nice.
So he was a big proponent of the linen cart, the repair cart, the maintenance cart. So many of these things we all take for granted today,
right,
were staple ideas built into this little cheap hotel chain that by 1957, they had over 100 of them.
Right.
By 1968, there were over 1,000 of them, and he was buying a huge property on Lamar Avenue and calling it Holiday City because he was going to have Holiday Inns in every country in the world.
Did he start this whole thing?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Am I hearing the music?
You are.
All right. We're going to take... Hey, it's loud here, and I'm distracted. You're here. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
911, this better be good.
I cut off my husband's thumb.
Attempted murder? You'll burn for this. What's your address so I can come arrest you?
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
That's a weird one, Max. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I have no idea how that relates to home improvement. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and the weird Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And especially if you've got thoughts about the Holiday Inn. We're in the middle of a conversation in our Great Moments in Building History talking about the first Holiday Inn here in Memphis, which quickly turned into, dozens and then hundreds, right? And then worldwide, of course. But Allan actually has some connections that we're going to learn about shortly with the Holiday Inn. You met Kemmons Wilson. Your dad knew Kemmons Wilson.
You worked for him, yeah.
You pulled out the sledgehammer and changed history, right? So, okay. But it's funny because when you're talking about this, it's like, okay, now growing up, we had, I can tell you in Glen Ellen, we had a Holiday Inn. I can tell you it was on Roosevelt Road. I remember it specifically, and it looked exactly like the one that was over in Elmhurst, and it looked exact. And there is a certain thing to be said for that kind of branding, because if you, if you're trying to, like we said, his genius was creating predictable experiences for the weary traveler, basically. And that doesn't just happen accidentally. There's a lot of design choices that go into
and we
this,
don't see any evidence of that at a big box store.
Well, that's what I was thinking about. When you said that, I'm like, okay, well, one Target looks more or less like another Target, depending on,
all right,
city to city. So
let's remember, in 1950, trying to travel, everything was different.
Sure.
And
no AC in the car, right? So.
Well, that's kind of one of my big things is, President Eisenhower was all about this. We're going to connect the world with this, it might catch on. It was called, highways and cars.
Yeah.
And, okay, well, we got highways and cars now. Now what do you do?
Yeah.
And the world had been, and I hate to say it, Route 66, not Interstate 40.
Right.
Well, now the world was changing to Interstate 40. Cars were becoming more affordable. People were more mobile. And here came this weirdo maverick who just jumped out there and said, you need to be comfortable. You need to know where you're going to stay at the end of a long day's trip.
Right.
And that was kind of the genius of Holiday Inn, was taking everything that had been different and trying to make it the same.
Right.
Now, 70 years later,
yeah,
we're building on everything is the same, but now we want it to look unique.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, the ideas of don't put stuff in your way, make your life easier, think about how do you clean it, think about how do you service it, think about how do you save yourself time, effort, and labor. And these are dramatic lessons for any homeowner, any builder, and any designer.
Right.
Because you want life to be simpler.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a pretty, it's pretty ambitious, too. It's not like he was saying, well, I'm going to open a really comfortable and nice hotel here in Memphis. He was already thinking of franchise. He's already thinking of spreading out. That's a tricky business model. I mean, I'm just thinking of how ambitious of a dude this guy must have been. Because, folks, if you just so you know, if you come to the University of Memphis Holiday Inn, if you go to the second floor, there's like kind of a small museum about Kemmons Wilson. Pretty interesting. And the guy's I'm seeing pictures of him with presidents and
yes,
popes and world leaders and
yes,
all over
Indeed.
the world. So yeah.
And I will tell you a funny side by the side growing up as a teenager, because back in those days, yes, we had telephones. No, we weren't knocking rocks together. I'm not quite that old. But you didn't know who was calling on the phone.
Yeah.
And every celebrity in the world worked with casinos and hotels and major venues.
Right.
And Holiday Inn being the largest player in that field, a lot of celebrities dealt with Holiday Inns.
Right.
And it was really weird to actually hear or see somebody on television have the phone ring, and of course you answer it, and you hear the voice on the television on the phone.
Weird. That
asking
is a weird
to talk
experience.
to your dad.
Right.
And you're like, I think the detective on the television's on the phone for you, Dad.
And then you're always wondering, is it an impersonator or something?
Oh no, it was really them, because they were talking about their casino or their investment in Holiday Inn properties around the world. I talked to a lot of really famous people back in the early 70s that I appreciate now, but I didn't have a first clue then.
Right.
So welcome to Holiday Inn, the people that changed a lot about how we think and how we do things and how we shop. And I see evidence from Holiday Inns every single time I take a client into a big box store and you say words like, this is going to save you a lot of time.
Right.
Or this is going to save you some labor. Holiday Inns originally were very simple structures, very utilitarianly built. He didn't spend a great deal of money on them. They weren't overbuilt by any stretch of the imagination. And the fate of the very first original one, it was sold out of the Holiday Inn system in 1973 because basically their standards that poor hotel couldn't meet.
Well, they kept improving, so yeah.
They kept improving and kept upping the game. And the very original one was basically a little simple lodge, a mom-and-pop motor hotel. And in a strange twist of fate, my father and I were both involved in with the property up in 1993 and 94, which was the property's final days.
Okay.
And my dad and Kemmons and several other dignitaries were there for the actual demolition of the original first Holiday Inn.
Did they save anything?
Kemmons made a very funny comment because in some of the rooms were the original square avocado green bathtubs.
Oh, gosh.
That he had bought to put in this hotel.
Back in the day, that would have been the
That was
bomb.
hot. That was hot, I got to tell you.
Okay.
So, inexpensive luxury was his key word.
Yeah.
Inexpensive luxury. So, the cool thing about being in this particular hotel for me is I know at least 2/3 of the pictures downstairs.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So I got a question. Did the Holiday Inn trigger? I mean, when we got the Hilton, the Marriott, you got all these others. Did this come first?
Yes.
You know.
Well, this was the trigger. Well, there's a lot of what we call simultaneous ideas. Because the minute one happens,
right,
you know it's not
explode.
a unique idea. Everybody else around the industry kind of goes, oh, that's an idea. You grab it and you do more.
Right.
And then you grab it and you do more, which gave us the explosion of brands.
Mm-hmm.
But for many, many, many decades, Holiday Inn was it.
Yeah.
It was absolutely the forerunner of, and as they said, inexpensive luxury. You knew what you were going to get when you checked in.
And so, sorry, not to beat in the ground, but how old were you when you talked to him? Clemens Wilson?
I first met him when I was about 11 or 12 years old.
Because I feel like, folks a little behind the curtains, having known Allan Gilbreth all these years, I do see influence. I don't know whether you realize. I could see similarities with attitudes and approaches that seems to translate into your contracting work.
Mm.
Does ideas that when you talked about making it easy to function, I'm like, you preach on that every week, man.
Well, it was an interesting culture because I remember Kimmons was motivated by who let him down, disappointed him, or upset him. And he was trying to do something with a local television station, and they just couldn't do what he wanted, so he went and built his own television station. I mean, it was just plain and simple. It was early 70s,
Yeah.
and the very first computer I ever worked on was a Burroughs computer, and it was the size of a freight train.
Right.
And it made so much heat at Holiday City, they actually piped the heat from the computer into the rest of the buildings to warm them during the winter.
Interesting.
Oh, welcome to so many different things, basic, simple ideas that we use every single day that had never really been put together commercially until this company.
It's funny. Now that you're saying all this, I have an exact not to work this into a shameless plug, but it's a perfect tie-in. I started with this convention world because I'm a vendor myself.
Mm-hmm.
I do wood turnings. I used to take my wood turnings to arts and craft shows and conventions, and I had so many negative experiences. And the whole time when I'd be at a show that was badly run or just it was dead or whatever, I said, I bet I could do this. I'm going to just try it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever I try to do something for the convention, it's usually just based on what I've seen that didn't work, and I'm going to do the opposite or whatever. So I can understand his motivation for sure. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me.
And the really simple tie-in to home improvement and taking care of your home is, make your home, get your home out of your way.
That's a good quote. Yeah. Get it out of your way. That makes a lot of sense. So
make your life more ergonomic and easier. Or as my favorite phrase is, think about starting at the dumpster and work your way backwards. Because you got it,
makes sense.
Holiday Inn proved you could clean and flip a room in 4 hours, and the next person in was happy.
Okay, awesome. All right, great moments in building history, the world's first Holiday Inn. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Are you aware that your bathroom faucet is leaking?
Are you kidding me? I just stuffed a sock in it yesterday. What else do they want me to do?
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Welcome back to Tool Talk Radio. We're broadcasting from the portable Brown Refrigeration Studios at News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. And we are coming to you live from the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. We're here at the Holiday Inn on Central Avenue, and it is starting to warm up in here a little bit. We got quite a few people coming in, so if you hear a little rumbling in the background, that is a growing number of people, and we certainly hope to see you here. There's going to be a lot going on today. There are plenty of panels, lots of vendors, and if you want to do some unique Christmas shopping, Ditch, I know you're definitely going to get in there and go find a few things. We have
snooping around already this morning.
Mm-hmm. A lot of artists here, a lot of artists, a lot of great one-of-a-type one-of-a-kind things you're not going to get at your big store.
We lost Joe.
It's okay. He wanders off on occasion. If you'd like to send us a message at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, that's 901-683-0989. And a quick reminder, you can always visit us online at newstalk989.com, or we're at Tool Talk Radio on Facebook, and, of course, tooltalkradio.com. And since we just got through talking about our conversation about the very first Holiday Inn here in back from the 1950s, I'm going to bring up another great vendor in Memphis we've got, and that is Jay Hill over at Big M Roofing. And this time of year is real. Your roof is as important as anything else having to do with your house or comfort.
I noticed something coming in this morning.
What'd you notice?
Some houses had frost on their roof and some didn't. What is that? What telltale sign is that?
The telltale sign, if you've got frost on your roof, you have a sufficient amount of insulation in your attic. You've got good insulation.
If you have frost on your roof?
If you have frost on your roof is not too warm.
So what about the spots on the roof where there's frost and then there's a spot right in the middle where there's no frost? Is that because there's some deficiency in that area?
You are exactly correct. That is indicative of the fact that your insulation has shifted, or something has happened with your roof and it's getting too much energy at that point. There could be something underneath it, like an air vent that's keeping that area warmer. But when you have temperature differentials like that does actually wear out your roof faster.
Oh.
Yeah, a little quick hint of if you ever watch these shows all about Alaska and stuff like that, the guys that come save your homestead and these type things, one of the things they always look for is ample snow on the roof. And that means you've got your attic and your roof properly insulated so that the heat from your home is not escaping through the roof.
Got it.
So, if your roof never has any winter activity on it, chances are you are spending way too much on your electricity bill.
Oh, okay.
And if you do notice that you have any roofing issues, give them a call over at Big M Roofing and Remodeling. Jay Hill's waiting to hear from you at 901-379-8184. And he is a GAF master installer. They also handle, and I'm going to throw in a big one right now, gutters. That is a huge topic right now because as I'm driving around town, I am seeing way too many what I call garden gutters.
Gutters that are hanging off the house?
Oh, well.
Or gutters that have stuff growing in them?
The stuff that they're growing all out of them everywhere. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any of that, it's time to get them cleaned out or get hold of somebody that will clean them out for you. It's a big deal because as we get further into winter, and of course the Mid-South doesn't have a lot of freezing temperatures, but we do. We get some.
Yeah.
And what will happen if you've got freezing rain, snow, or something like that, it freezes up at the gutter or the gutter is not letting water remove, it will back up underneath your shingles.
Oh.
That is one of those little, they call them ice dams. And they will creep back up and they will leak into your house.
And this is stuff that you typically don't see, right? If you don't pay attention to it?
If you're not getting out there and actively looking, you're really not going to see this. But, you can look at your gutter and know whether or not it's blocked.
Right, yeah.
If your gutters are blocked or they've been blocked all year, you got big trees, you got lots of leaves, lots of pine trees.
Do these, everyone, there's all these different versions of the gutter protectors to keep leaves and stuff from them.
Yes.
Is that good or bad in wintertime? Especially in a climate where maybe you get more freezes and more snows.
Depending upon the style. Now, they've gotten much more competitive than just the old guy getting up there with the hardware cloth and covering his gutters up.
Yeah, and I've seen some where there's just like a giant sponge that you put in there to...
That's terrible.
I was about to say, that doesn't seem like that's a good idea.
They work fabulous for about 2 years.
Okay.
They work fantastic. And then what happens to that sponge is dirt. Regular old just dirt from the air, dust, and that kind of
Granules
stuff.
from your shingles.
From your shingles will block up the pores, and now you've just created a big old sponge sitting in the gutter.
Yeah. Okay.
So those are not the. Now the thing is, let me flip a script on that. I use them all the time for spacing and stuffing.
Okay.
I love those things for the little gaps that are maybe under something. You're not worried about water, but I'm worried about birds, wasp, critters getting into it. I find that corrugated foam that they use for that works beautifully to plug those things up.
Okay.
So,
or maybe right over the top of the downspout. Is that a good place for one to keep stuff from clogging into the downspout?
Well, what you want there is you want that downspout to take that material on through, but you want to cover the top of that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So you're not having stuff actually blow into it.
Okay.
So there are a number of leaf products and systems out there. And again, I'll kick back over to Big M. They've got a 2 or 3 different systems they use. And one of the new hot things in gutters is a seamless gutter. Now, I don't know if you've seen.
Oh yeah, I've seen the guys out in the yard with that long with the system that it just comes out of the. It's in rolls. It's in flat rolls, and then it goes through the molder. That molds the gutter, and it just goes and goes and goes, depending on how long your stretch is.
Yeah, I could sit and watch that molder all day long. that is just eye candy for construction nerds.
And I don't care how you try to seam your gutters, they're always going to leak.
Yes.
Eventually, they're going to come apart.
Yes. Well, there's a funny thing about being in the Mid-South. We are in a seismically active zone. And since we're sitting out here basically on the campus of the University of Memphis, have you ever been over to the geology department here?
I have not.
In the geology department here is a big old, out of a sci-fi movie seismograph that matches every movement of the earth the little lines draw. And what is hilarious is that the New Madrid fault line is fairly active, and we have a lot of microquakes. We don't feel them.
Yeah.
They're 100 miles underground and 100 miles from us.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're standing there looking at this seismograph and suddenly those needles start jumping, you have a tendency to put your hands out in the air like, is this about to happen? And, when you read the paperback, you realize how much the world moves
below us.
Yeah, the world moves. So I throw that in with the fact that Joe and I have always brought up, people do not understand how much their house moves. As the wind blows, as it heats up, it cools down. You hear the creaking at night as your house is kind of here and there.
Yeah.
And that is because with temperature differentials, everything in your house swells and shrinks. And this constant wear and tear is where stuff comes loose, stuff pops loose.
I told a lady who was asking about what kind of, I don't want to completely go off the subject, but to that subject about your house moving and stuff is we're talking about joints in gutters and how it moves. Those joints are always going to eventually leak. Same thing with your sheetrock. When you go to put in, she had some shelves put in, just basic shelves, and they came with that little plastic plug that goes in the hole that you drill, and then you screw the hole in it. And I said, your house is constantly vibrating, and eventually that's going to come loose. 3 weeks later, she called me and said, well, you're right, the shelf's loose.
It's already on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the sheetrock is really not designed to hold that.
Yeah.
That is why when, I love when they give you these cute little holders to kind of, put the little plastic thingy in the wall. I'm not a big fan of those. I am a big fan of actual, what we used to call wall mollies or wall anchors that go through, spread out,
like butterflies,
and grab the back of that. So much better, so much easier, and will save you so much just basic harassment in your life of tightening up a few things around the house. And that is kind of a big kick. That's my big kick in the fall. Is go take a walk around your house, and I agree with you. Start with your gutters, because if you've got old gutters and they got seams, you probably have that little black trail coming down. You need to look at that.
I have a neighbor whose gutters are literally hanging off his house. One of them is now touching the ground. I'm thinking,
dude,
when are you going to get that fixed? He doesn't seem. It's been this way for years. I'm waiting for him to completely fall off the house. I almost want to tell him, why don't you just go pull them off?
Yep. Instead of having them hanging there like that.
Yeah, it looks terrible.
Well, and it's also not doing his foundation any good because the gutter is designed to pull the water away from the roof in the house and get it away from your foundation, because people don't understand the power of ice. Ice is one of the most powerful topics on the planet. It can move almost anything. And we'll dive a little more into freeze-proofing things when we come back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I've been going door to door looking for fire hazards. Mind if I give your place a little inspection?
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Welcome back to Tool Talk Radio. We are broadcasting from the Portable Brown Refrigeration Studios at News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. And as you can tell by the background sounds, we are live. We are broadcasting live from the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention here at the Holiday Inn, 3700 Central Avenue.
I wonder how many people don't know there's a Holiday Inn on the campus of the University of Memphis that you could actually call and book a room.
Yes, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful hotel.
It's like there are, what do they call them, teaching hospitals? This is a teaching hotel.
It is indeed. It is designed, it is part of the University of Memphis hospitality program, where you can learn everything from food service and maintenance and planning management to hotel operations.
Yeah.
So it is
a very robust department, too. I know a lot of people have gone through this.
It's an active program, and this is a great facility. Let's see, guys, we got a few minutes. If you'd like to send us a message at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, you can do that at 901-683-0989. And, of course, a reminder that you can visit us online at any time at newstalk989.com or at Tool Talk Radio on Facebook, and, of course, at tooltalkradio.com.
Man, this place filled up quick. There's people lined up waiting for the doors to open now.
Yes. It has happened fast. That coffee kicks in, gets to be about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Let's get up and go.
This place is going to be absolutely swarmed in about 30 minutes.
Is it me or – because I came to this one last year, and I'm wandering around. Is there more artists this year? There seems to be a lot of artists.
Yes.
Whether it's sketch artists, watercolor artists, it's all under the realm and the umbrella of Memphis Comic and Fantasy. There's some incredible artists in here that their displays are just phenomenal, man.
Well, and here's the real kick. If you've seen, movie posters and comic books and all that kind of stuff, the real kicker is the chances are the person behind the counter is the actual artist.
Yep.
Drop a couple of names. I mean, we've had everybody from artist for Batman, the Silver Surfer. We've had artists
Superman.
We've had Superman artists here. We've had a wide variety of the storytellers, the inkers, the cartoonists. So it is a fascinating trip through the vendor room and through all the art displays as to what's here.
There's also a growing, anime is really becoming a thing, isn't it? I mean, it always was sort of an underground thing in this country, but it seems like the last few years – anime is becoming...
The last 10 years, anime is the thing. The biggest thing about anime is the cartooning style, but it has nothing to do with talent, because the anime artists that produce these works are absolutely astounding.
Yeah.
And not to name drop, but people kind of forget how many amazing artists we have in the Mid-South.
Yeah.
Because one of the top cartoonists in the world lives here.
Really?
And he is here today. And I'm going to throw him under the bus.
Okay.
Greg Cravens.
Oh, wow.
From, the International Cartoonist Association, board member and all that kind of stuff. Draws, the International Cartoon Hubris. Dude lives here in town.
I used to live one floor below a guy who he's been here before at the Memphis Comics and Fantasy Convention. I think he's since moved on out of Memphis, but for years and years. And I went into his apartment one day, first time I met him, and there was nothing in his apartment but sketches of, I think it was Superman, or maybe it was Batman, Dean.
Dean Zachary.
Yeah, Dean Zachary. And everywhere. And
well, he didn't escape us much. He's just right over here in Forest City.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's phenomenal. And he actually, it wasn't for, he did it for a living. I'm just saying. I mean, and he still does. He's very successful. And I was blown away that I lived right in the same building, and I'd hang out and just, he would talk about, how he was working on this one, and he'd put that one aside for a while and then come back to it, and all over his apartment, easels with all of these drawings that he had rendered. So, but anyway, I know we digressed from Tool Talk a little bit, just talking about the convention because that's where we're at today. So
it is, and it's a wonderful experience. And if you've never been to one, come on out. This is a great place to find out and dip your toe in the water and go to some panels, attend some shows, buy some stuff, have a good day.
And Tool Talk, one of the aspects of the show is, doing things yourself.
Yes.
And there's a lot of that here, a lot of crafty things built by the people that you're going to meet at the vendor booth and that you're going to see here. So,
and if you got anybody in your home that's into costuming, of course there'll be numerous cosplayers here that are more than happy to answer any question you want about making costumes. And even the Memphis makers are here. So if you got questions about making almost anything, even 3D printing, they got a booth. So they are here and ready to answer your questions.
It's all about measurement.
It is. It really,
just like in your world of construction.
Measure
it twice, cut it once. Is that what they
sometimes
say?
You'll measure 5 or 6 times. Make sure you got every direction and everything you're looking at to rehash our great moments in building history of a lot of the principles espoused by this company, Holiday Inn, are very much on display here. The amount of math, care, construction, delivery, product standards of all can be, I can draw a line back to Holiday Inns to make all of this fit together. So you got just a couple of minutes left to give us a message over at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And to give us kind of a real quick recap, if you got a million ladybugs on your house, don't worry about it. They're going to move on.
Okay, so what is the connection? Because I saw an article, I think in the Daily Memphian earlier this week, that said there was a beetle invasion, and it didn't mean the Beatles.
Correct.
It meant
a different critter.
A different critter. Yeah.
Right.
Well, what is the deal about this time of year?
Well, this time of year, everybody is looking for a home. It is basically what you're looking at. So, all right, well, if you think about it, every year we have the annual cicada.
All right.
The little guys that come up and they scream all during the month of August, right? Well, they're underground right now. All their little babies are all underground, living around the tree roots, doing their thing, growing up to be big, fat little cicadas for next year. So are your Japanese beetles, so are your tiger beetles, so are pretty much every critter out there. The ladybug gets kind of unique in the fact that they actually hibernate. They don't just lay eggs and let the kids take over next year. They're going to be here next year with us. So they're looking for a place to hole up for the winter.
What purpose do ladybugs have?
They eat aphids.
Okay.
They are your gardening best buddy and friend. You really want them hanging around.
And they're cool to look at.
And they're pretty. Yeah, and they're pretty. So you don't want to just go out there and wipe them out. The other little problem, since we brought up the ladybugs, that has been kind of plaguing people the last few weeks is woodpeckers.
Their time of year?
Yeah, their time of year.
Banging their head?
They are. Well, see, the problem is if you have a woodpecker attacking a certain part of your house, it's probably time to go take a closer look at it. Because they're doing that for one of two things. A, they think it's easy to get through and they can build a nest in that tree, a.k.a. your house, which you don't
they don't
want
know
them
the
to
difference,
do.
right?
Hey, it's wood. It's wood. It's a wood paneling to them. They don't care if it's on your house or the tree. If they can peck a hole into your attic, they'll sell condos. But the big thing is, they're usually after your fruit trees and other things like that this time of year because they are looking for bugs.
Okay.
So you could have a problem that the woodpecker is trying to point out for you.
I got you.
So you may need to get the ladder safely, get somebody to spot you, get up there and take a look, and you may need to take some type of pest control because there's a reason they're interested.
Is that a call to a wildlife expert, or is it something you can do that they will just stop beating on your house?
Well, yeah, if you get up there and notice that, I got some soft wood here, I need to do a tiny little minor repair, and then you can paint that stuff over and they'll go away. But, they are trying to warn you that they might think there's something tasty that you don't want living in your house.
Got it.
So just a quick little by the way, as I could tell people, if you see ants going up the side of your house, that means you got a bigger problem.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not the ants. Everybody's, the ants are eating my house. No, the ants are taking advantage of a problem in your house.
Yeah.
So you probably got a roof leak, or you got a bad gutter.
Well,
or
I was about to say, the ant thing can lead you maybe to a water problem, because they're looking for water.
Almost every time.
Yeah.
Almost every single time. And since we brought up ants, walk around your house, look around the base of it, and see if you see any mud tubes. Those are our little buddies, the termites, looking for a way into your house.
What bug is it that will fill my outside electrical outlet holes with mud?
That is a little potter's wasp.
Ooh. All right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Tool Talk Radio, and this is Allan signing off for Ditch and Joe.
Yeah, we'll
lost
see you Joe,
next
but
week.
we're going to go find him. So come on.
Come on down.
Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention is on at the Holiday Inn, so today and tomorrow. So come on, get your tickets at 901tix.com.